Hello and welcome to our channel, Mental Insight. This is the second video of a three-part series where we talk about 20 toxic phrases parents should never say to their children. Please watch part 1 and 3 after watching this video. Let's dive in. Number 6 toxic phrase we should never say to our children is, if you loved me, you would. This line is such a manipulative guilt trip. It's basically emotional blackmail. That's what it is. Trying to make someone feel bad or question their feeling in order to get what you want. Like, imagine your partner pulls that, stunt on you. If you really loved me, you would quit your job and stay home all day. Or a friend saying, if you actually cared about me, you would lend me money again after I didn't pay back the one you gave me before, the one you gave me last night. At its core, it's putting unfair conditions and expectations on someone's love and care. Love shouldn't come with a checklist or demands attached to it. When people start using phrases like that, it shows they are more interested in controlling you than actually feeling loved and supported. Dr. Rebecca Hendricks puts it this way: statements that question someone's love by placing conditions on it are toxic and manipulative. True love is unconditional. The healthier approach is to express your needs and feelings directly without accusations or manipulations or any such tactics. If you need something from a partner, from a friend, or from a family member, just say it honestly. That's what is expected. Don't try to guilt them into it by questioning how much they care about you. At the end of the day, putting conditions on love just breeds resentment and damages trust in relationship. If you hear that, for example, if you loved me, it's complete nonsense. It's a big red flag that the person is more interested in controlling than actual care and compassion. Better to shut it down and have an open conversation about, their expectation. Another expert says this about this particular phrase: using love as a bargaining tool teaches children that affection is conditional and must be earned by meeting others' expectation. And that is really so bad. So the number 7th phrase we'll talk about is, you are so ungrateful. You are so ungrateful. It is a form of emotional manipulation through guilt. Narcissistic parents often use this phrase to control and to invalidate their children's feeling, which is really so sad. It can make children feel guilty for not meeting expectation, affecting their ability to appreciate genuinely. In essence, labeling a child as ungrateful minimizes their emotional experience, induces guilt, and can lead to long-term issues with self-worth or self-esteem, emotional expression, and ability to form healthy relationships. Dr. Lisa Chang is a psychologist, and She explains it this way: accusation of ingratitude can create a permanent sense of debt in children, making them feel they are never enough. Number 8, you are a disappointment. This statement crushes a child's motivation and self-worth. It's one of the absolute worst things that a father or a mother could ever utter to a child. Hearing they are a disappointment can make children feel fundamentally inadequate and unworthy of love and acceptance. And growing up with that mindset can grossly affect their ability to survive in any form of relationship. It can lead to a feeling of hopelessness and a lack of self-belief. If a child internalizes that they are a disappointment, for example, they may give up trying and lose confidence in their abilities. So telling a child they are a disappointment can fundamentally alter how they perceive themselves, often with lasting negative implications. It damages their self-esteem and a sense of worth, you know. It causes deep pain of realizing that they are seen as disappointment. So, expert opinion on this is telling a child they are a disappointment can fundamentally alter how they perceive themselves, often with lasting negative consequences. So let's move on to number 9. I don't love you anymore. Telling a child I don't love you anymore is considered to be very psychologically damaging. In fact, it's one of the most damaging things a parent can say to their child. And this has major implications. It creates severe attachment issues and distrust in relationship. It shatters a child's sense of safety and security. Love and acceptance from parents is crucial for the child's emotional well-being. Removing that unconditional love can make a child feel abandoned and unsafe, in the world. It leads to fear of abandonment. Children who hear this may become anxious and clingy, constantly worried that they will lose their parents' love again if they don't behave properly. This is damaging to self-worth and self-esteem. Being told a parent doesn't love them anymore can make a child feel unlovable and unworthy, negatively shaping their self-concept. It causes emotional trauma also. This can create severe attachment issues and disrupt relationships. Emotional trauma at a young age can have lasting implications. This can disrupt a child's psychological development as well. Secure attachment and feeling loved allows children to develop independence and confidence. This phrase undermines that critical foundation. So telling a child, I don't love you anymore, is considered an extremely harmful form of emotional neglect that can create attachment disorders, fear, trauma, and undermine a child's healthy psychological development long term. Mental health experts universally advise against ever uttering this phrase to a child. So stay with me, don't go away. We are now at number 10. Telling a kid you ruined my life. That's what we're discussing in number 10. You ruined my life. So telling a kid you ruined my life is such a main thing to say to a child, besides its psychological implications. It's basically an emotional abuse or blackmail. Think about it from a child's perspective. They are just little, people. They're kids. That's who they are. Trying to navigate this big world. And then their own parents, someone who is supposed to love and to nurture them, unconditionally drops such a big bomb on them. It's no wonder Dr. Squaz says it can be straight up traumatic for that child. It's putting this massive burden of guilt and responsibility on a tiny child's shoulder. Like, how is a child supposed to process being blamed for their parents' happiness or life choices? That's an incredible and unfair weight for them to carry. And, you know, having that kind of emotional baggage dumped on you can really mess up a kid's mind, mess up their mind mentally and emotionally. It can lead to anxiety and depression. Just name it. Can lead to a lot of mental health issues for that child somewhere down the line in the future. They start to question their self worth and blaming themselves for their parents' issues. Their self esteem and confidence take a huge hit also. Hearing that your existence ruined a parent's life, that's the kind of thing that can stick with you and impact your mental health for years to come. It can make kids feel like a mistake or a burden, which is just heartbreaking. But beyond the psychological damage that this sort of statement can cause to the child, it can also completely fracture the sacred parent child bond. How can a kid trust and feel safe with a parent who expresses that level of resentment towards them? It breeds anger, distance, and a desire to get away from that toxic environment. At the end of the day, no child should ever have to hear something so cruel and psychologically scary from their own parents. It's a surefire way to inflict some deep, long lasting emotional wounds. Parents need to be careful with their words and provide unconditional love and support, not traumatizing statements like that. In essence, so telling a child, you ruined my life, is a form of emotional abuse that can have severe and long lasting psychological consequences. It is a statement that mental health professionals strongly advise against ever using with children, as it can inflict deep emotional wounds and trauma. Let's take on number 11. You're too sensitive. Some of us parents say this kind of stuff very carelessly. Tell a child, you're too sensitive. You're just crying. So what are you crying now? We say it without really realizing how damaging that could be. When children are repeatedly told their feelings are too sensitive or they feel too much. They may learn to suppress or bottle up their emotions. This can lead to emotional numbness or difficulty expressing emotions in a healthy way. It can also lead to low self-esteem. Constantly being told they are too sensitive can make children feel flawed or abnormal for having natural emotional responses. This can negatively impact their self-esteem and self-confidence. Difficulty with emotional regulations could also be a result of telling children they are too sensitive. So children need guidance in learning to understand and manage their emotions. Dismissing their feelings as too sensitive can hinder their ability to develop healthy emotional relationships. When children feel their emotions are not validated or accepted, it can create distance and strain in their relationship with their parents and caregivers. And this underscores the psychological implication of that statement. So, an expert has this to say: telling a child they are too sensitive dismisses their emotions and teaches them to ignore their feeling, which is very, very unhealthy. This is where we will draw the curtain on this video. The conclusion of this video on 20 toxic phrases parents should never say to their kids will be in part 3. The link to part 3 is in the description of this video or somewhere on the screen. Please do not miss out on it. If you have found value in this video so far, please like, share, subscribe, and smash the notification bell so you will be the first to know when I make new videos. See you in part 3.